Have you been looking for a PC case that doesn't break the bank but still offers a lot of quality and value for the price? Well, for $100 you can't go wrong with the Cooler Master H500, and honestly, Cooler Master has been stepping up their game with their PC cases. Now I know there's a lot of options for $100, but let's see what makes this one so special. Hey, what's up guys? My name is JD from JDTechGear and welcome back to the channel where we discuss PC passion reviews, guides, mods, and more. So if you're into that sort of thing, consider checking out the rest of the channel and subscribing. Alright, so let's dive right into this. This case is offering a lot of value straight out of the box. The H500 looks similar to a lot of the other master case enclosures from Cooler Master, but much more dynamic in my opinion. Let's start with that gorgeous mesh front panel. Airflow is not a problem with this case, and in case you're more into the peel over function, this case comes with an optional acrylic front panel with airflow coming in from the sides and the bottom. Also, part of the front panel is the handle up on top, which makes transportation much easier without getting a ton of fingerprints on the case. The H500 is a mid-tower with support of mini ITX to ATX form factor motherboards. The case stands at 525mm long, 228mm wide, and 502mm tall, with a CPU cooler clearance up to 167mm, which should house even the largest of CPU coolers. Fan support is great as well, with options for 3 120, 2 140, or 2 200mm fans up in the front, 2 120mm, 2 140mm, or 1 200mm fan up on top, and 1 120mm fan in the rear. Of course, this all comes with great radiator support as well. Once we start breaking down this case, it becomes even more dynamic. Let's start with that tempered glass side panel. It uses a 2-screw design, but instead they are flat and use a flat head drive in order to remove, though you can get away with using your thumbs just fine. I rather see a push and pull pin instead, or a latching mechanism, as I think the screw design is becoming outdated quickly. The screws are capped off at the end and don't come out of the glass, which is amazing and keeps you from losing them later on, and I lose them all the time. The glass panel then hinges on the bottom and can support its own weight without falling over. This is great in case the side panel just slips through your hands and decides to support its own weight rather than falling over and shattering, so that's pretty nice. For the rear panel, it's pretty standard with a 2 thumb screw design, and they aren't capped, unfortunately. If the side panel screws are, then these should be as well, to keep me and others from losing them, because I lose those thumb screws all the time, or I just have to go around looking for them. Also, I wish the rear panel used a hinge design for ease of use rather than the traditional slot-in method. Front panel removal is standard as well, just pull it off, and there are no connected wires from the front I/O, which is always a blessing. If you want to install that acrylic front panel, it can be a bit of a process with removing 8 screws in total, but it is secured into place nicely once installed. It's not that hard, it just takes a little time. The front I/O comes with 2 USB 3.0 and USB 2.0 ports, power and reset button, and audio jacks, but I would really appreciate a Type-C port. I do file transfers all the time, and a Type-C port is almost necessary at this point. The front I/O is also removable by removing these 2 screws, which makes for a very easy removal and installation. The H500 packs quite a bit of value, to be honest. It includes 2 200mm MF RGB fans in the front and 1 120mm black fan in the rear. Honestly, this is a full fan setup straight out of the box. There's a dust filter on top, which is magnetic, another in the front panel, even on the sides and bottom, and another dust filter underneath the PSU with a slide out filter rather than a cheap one held in with 4 metal tabs. Thankfully, I will always appreciate that attention to detail. Moving to the interior of the case, we have an open layout, which is nothing new, but we have a cable shield up in the front for front I/O cables or anything else that needs to be routed through. It's also removable in case you don't want to see it there. We also have rubber grommets, which is fantastic to see and to have, and also necessary at this price point. There's a hard drive cage at the bottom that slot in and out very easily for the hard drive trays, and it's also removable with only 1 thumb screw. Just slide out the bottom tray and undo the thumb screw on the bottom and pull out. I love this easy toolless design and stands out to me. Moving over to the power supply shroud, it's completely removable with 1 thumb screw and slots out very easily. I absolutely love this design, and again stands out as unique to me. Anytime there is a removable or modular PSU shroud, it can make life much easier with plugging in and out of cables for your PSU. Moving over to the back, there's 2 SSD mounts, which is another toolless design feature for those SSDs. SSD installation is is used by screwing in these 4 posts into the drive and sticking the drive into the rubber mounts, and it's actually secure. This adds to the toolless design and adds more points in my book. In the rear of the case, there's plenty of space for cable management with a full inch of space or close to it from the inner case wall. There's cable cutouts in all the appropriate places, and there's a good amount of cable tie down points for easy cable routing. I mean, look at this cable management I have here. I didn't spend over 30 minutes on cable management and it came out this clean. Cable management is made easy with cable tie down points, cable routing holes, and a removable power supply shroud. Major points right there for making this process so much easier. The accessories include an RGB controller for the 2 front RGB fans in the front of the case, in case you don't want to use your motherboard RGB header or don't have one. Molex powered fan header, zip ties, screws, and cleaning cloth for the tempered glass panel. I love that tiny attention to detail rather than having to use my shirt or having to use a microfiber towel for the same use. Build experience was overall very smooth. The only discrepancy I have is that only a couple of the motherboard standoffs were installed. Other than that, everything else was great. I got to utilize the cable bar, rubber grommets, cable holes, and tie down points to use this case to its full potential. I highly recommend this for a beginner as the install process and cable management is an absolute breeze. The only thing that I don't like is the gap in the wall between the cable shield and the front panel. I'm sure there's a reason for this that I haven't looked into yet, but I prefer to have the full wall without having cables scaling across the gap. It's no surprise that the temps are the same with the panels on and off the case, or at least close to the same, as there is a substantial amount of airflow coming in from the front and the top and the bottom for the PSU. I mean, there's only a Ryzen 1400 in this build, but it's overclocked to 4 GHz, and you would notice a difference in results if it was being choked. Now, with the acrylic front panel, the temps can differ a bit with 36.6 degrees Celsius over ambient, but either way, this case isn't struggling with airflow, and I absolutely cherish it. In terms of sound production, it's actually pretty decent, 41.9 decibels at idle and 44.4 decibels at load, which is pretty good for an entirely mesh panel exterior. Build quality overall is very good. The front panel is plastic, yes, but made well for sturdiness. It's not just a cheap plastic that's going to fall off and break. The entire enclosure is relatively light. The frame of the case is steel with a plastic front panel and plastic PSU shroud and drive cage. There's a difference in cheap brittle plastic and durable thick plastic. Overall, it's a well-made case and the quality is appropriate at the $100 price tier. I really like this case all around. It looks clean, has a focus on airflow, provides 3 fans out of the gate, has a top mounted handle for transportation, great cable management options, and fantastic use of a toolless dynamic design. Quality of the case speaks that of a $100 case to me. The toolless design speaks on innovation, the inclusion of 3 fans, 2 of which are 200 millimeters, speaks of value, and the case itself is very well rounded for the money. The only negatives I have to say about this case is the exclusion of a USB Type-C port on the front I/O, flat head drive screws on the front panel, non-cap thumb screws for the rear panel, and the gap in the case wall between the front panel and the cable shield. Honestly, these are minor issues in the entirety of the case and what it offers. For $100, I would definitely buy it and offers a competitive option in this price tier. This case is definitely worthy of the value cog by providing one of the best options for its price. If you want to check out this case, a link will be in the description below. So let me know what your go-to PC case is and what makes it so special. Also, if you want to grab some PC art like this piece over here or some new merch right here, my store will be in the description below or in the card over here for you to check that out. I hope you guys found this video helpful and informative. And if you guys are new here and you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon, since videos don't appear in people's subscription boxes anymore, so that's interesting. So you can catch up on the latest and greatest PC reviews and hardware and other things like that. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.